Well, hello everyone, welcome back guys. Hope you all are doing well. This is Muhammad Badrudduja back again with another lab, and today we are going to see lab number 5 from CSRF vulnerability, where we are going to see the token which is tied to a non-session cookie. So the lab description is like this: lab emails change functionality is vulnerable to CSRF and it uses tokens to try to prevent CSRF attacks, but they are not fully integrated into site session handling system. To solve the lab, use your exploit server to host the HTML page that uses CSRF attack to change the viewer's email address. So there is one user somewhere which is going to be victimized by us when we host a HTML page on the exploit server. So we have here two valid credentials to test this CSRF vulnerability. I already open up the lab here. So let's go, and I'm directly going to log in with one of this account. And here I'm going to enable the burp proxy on my browser. So we will have all the traffic through burp proxy. So let's see. Wiener is the username and the password is Peter. Hit enter, don't save, and I'm going to arrange a bit so that we can see both of these windows simultaneously here. So you can see we have here all the requests. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to directly change the email address of this user. So let's say wiener wiener2 at cybersec.radar. Okay, and change email. Now you can see this is the endpoint for changing the email, and I'm going to send this request to the repeater to further analyze this. Now you can see here we have two post body parameters. The first one is email and the second one is CSRF. Now, if you see here in the lab description section, it's saying the token is tied to a non-session cookie. So non-session cookie, which is this one, CSRF key. Okay, and this is the session cookie which represents the user's authorization level and the user is authenticated. Okay, so this is the non-session cookie. This cookie is associated with the CSRF tokens. So whenever you make a request to change the email address, you have one CSRF token that is associated with this non-session cookie. Okay, now I'm going to test it, but before that I am going to write out both of these parameters here. wiener wiener, this is the user, this is the CSRF token, and this is the non-session cookie. So copy this and paste it here. Okay, now let's see, I'm going to change the email address of our account from wiener2 to wiener3, and as you can see the last character is capital S or uppercase S. I'm going to change it to small a and try to change our email by sending the request. Now once we send the request, we can see here in the response invalid CSRF token. So let's make it as it was, and I'm going to remove this CSRF token. So I want to just see whether the application is validating the CSRF token. It's checking this CSRF parameter within the post body section or not. Okay, and as you can see again, invalid CSRF token. Now I'm going to put it back and let's check from here CSRF key. So I want to see whether it's just validating this CSRF token, and I want to see whether this token is tied with this non-session cookie or not. So last character is lowercase q. I'm going to change it to a and just manipulating it and checking, and it's still saying invalid CSRF token. So I'm going to put it back, and that means if we send this, and this time we will see that our email gets changed. So 302, and it's redirecting us to this endpoint. So that means it's checking both of these non-session cookie and the token whatever the value of the non-session cookie, you must put the CSRF token associated with this. But what if I change the session ID of another user? If the session ID I put here from the Carlos user, but the CSRF key and CSRF token, I keep it here from the winner user, and if that functionality work at that instant, we can say that the implementation or session handling mechanism is not implemented correctly. Fine. So for this purpose, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just, let's say, opening one new private window. And here I'm going to put this one. And let's try to log in with Carlos user. And the password is Montoya login. And as you can see, we are logged in. Now let's try to change the email address of this user. So I'm going to say carlos2@test.west. Okay, let's update it. And back to the burp proxy. And here you can see this is the post request for changing email address of the Carlos user account. So I'm going back here and I'm going to note it down. So this is the Carlos user and its CSRF token is this. Paste that. And its CSRF key value is this. So copy that back here and paste that. Fine. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the session ID of the Carlos user account. First of all, let's just send this request to the repeater. It will be easy. So you can do it in both of the ways, whether you change the session ID of winner user, replace that with the session ID of Carlos user, or you can change these two parameters as you want. So I'm going to copy this back here, put the session ID or session cookie of Carlos user, and let's just send this. So as you can see, the email is not available because of course the email must be unique. So let's change the email to winner4, but that indicates us that it's working. So now you can see this CSRF non-session cookie and CSRF token belongs to winner user, but the session cookie belongs to Carlos user. So that means these two things are validated by the application, but these two things are not tied with the session cookie. Okay, and this is the problem. So let's go back here and try to refresh it. You can see it's still winner3, but because we put the session ID of Carlos user, so it will be changed from Carlos2 to winner4. Okay, now that is perfect. We find the CSRF vulnerability, okay, and we can exploit it. But to victimize a user, we will feed these two things, this one and this one, because to feed the session cookie is very difficult, because whenever the user logged in, at that instant he will be assigned with this session cookie. So we are not going to actually feed the session cookie, but the idea is to feed the CSRF key and CSRF token. Now in that section, feeding the CSRF token, we already did it couple of time in the previous labs, and this is easy by just creating a form and specifying one input tag. Within that we can specify the CSRF token, but changing the CSRF key is difficult. Why? Because it's not in the post body section, it is inside the header. So this is the header value, and to change this one, manipulate this one, we need header injection vulnerability. So we need to find out, we get the CSRF, but this CSRF can only be exploited if we change these both parameters, and this one belongs to header injection. So we need to find out whether header injection vulnerability is there in the application or not. And once we find the header injection vulnerability, we will feed this CSRF non-session cookie by exploiting header injection. So I'm going back here in the Venus account, and I'm going to home. Let's see. So because in my account section, there is only one functionality, which is updating the email, nothing else. But once we go to the home, there are a bunch of things we can do, like wait a moment, this is gonna be the problem. I'm going to close this browser private window because we already test that. Now we just need to check out the header injection. So here we have the functionality for searching the products, and we can also view these posts, and maybe within these posts we can also make comments. Yeah, we can make comments also. So we will see where we will find the header injection. So I will start from the search product section, and let's say I'm gonna search cyber. So once we search cyber, let's see what we got. Okay, so this is the request, and as you can see, this is the GET request, this is query string, everything seems perfect. This is the session cookie, CSRF key is there within every request. Okay, but CSRF token you will only find with the post request once we have post body section, because here we are not going to change anything. Although the response is pretty interesting. Why? Because you can see within the response header, there is one header named as set cookie, and it's setting last search term cybersec. So whatever you search here, it is going to put it in the header, response header, as last search term equal to cyber, whatever you search here. So in that way, this is the place where header injection vulnerability exists. Now we search something in such a way that we can inject another header within this response. So let's see, I'm going back here. I'm going to actually send this request to the repeater. Go to the repeater, and let's see, I'm going to say percentage. Actually this one is for 0D and 0A. This is for enter key, for enter, same like we press enter, so it will change the line. And then I'm going to say set cookie, because if we want to set cookie, we need to use this header, set cookie. Okay, so set cookie, then colon, and instead of space, I'm going to put here the URL encoded value of space, and then CSRF key is equal to, and the key I'm going to put here, because this is the CSRF key value for the winner, but here I'm going to put the CSRF key value of the Carlos user. So let's just paste it here. Fine. And now just try to search it. And as you can see now, the set cookie section, this is the search term, and because we put here the enter value, so another set cookie response header being set here, and it's setting the value of CSRF key is equal to Carlos CSRF key. Fine. So that is perfect, and it's being tested that it is possible to inject the header. Now we just need to go here to the exploit server, and what we are going to do here before doing anything, let's just see what is the email address of winner user, because we are first going to test the CSRF on our account, then we will go and deliver the exploit to another victim. Okay, so winner3@cybersecradar. Let's go here, and I'm going to write here some. So first of all, I'm going to create one form. Action is equal to, here we put the URL, and then we need to define the method is equal to post method. If it is get, and if you do not define method, by default it will take get method, but other than get method, you need to define it here. Now here I'm going to define input tag. So type is equal to hidden, and name is equal to something, and value is equal to something. And I'm going to copy this and paste it here. Now here I'm going to close the form, and then I'm going to, now here we need to inject CSRF key, because we know that the first post body section parameter is email, another one is CSRF. Email value, let's set it to hack1 at cybersec.radar, and the CSRF value, we are going to put our CSRF value, right, or Carlos CSRF value, but we already terminated the session for Carlos, so no problem. You can test it by setting here the Carlos CSRF value and CSRF token, but eventually the user on which you are going to test this, that user must be logged in, and because he is logged in, so it will take the session cookie of that victim user, so it will always change the victim user email address. Okay, so let's see, I'm going to put here the CSRF value of winner user, paste that. Okay, action, I'm going to take this endpoint for changing the email address, putting it here. Method is gonna be post method, and we need to also close these input tags. Okay, now here we are going to inject one image tag, and we are going to define source is equal to something, and on error is equal to, I want to say submit this form. Okay, so auto submit this form, document dot forms, and because we have only one form, so the ID is 0, and submit. Fine. Now within the source, I am going to take this URL which we already set here, just paste that, but make sure this key here belongs to which one, A5UP. So because we are using the CSRF token for winner user, so we will also use the CSRF key for winner user, so just paste that here. Okay, and that seems pretty okay. I'm just going to view exploit. So view exploit means we are targeting our own user, and as you can see, it's changed the email, hack1 at cybersec.radar. Now what we do, we go back to the exploit server, and this time we will deliver the exploit to the victim user. Now because the email must be unique, so I'm going to change it to hack2, store this exploit, and deliver the exploit to the victim. Not solved. Why? Let's check the access log, whether the victim user, if the victim user click that link which we deliver to the victim, so we will get victim's IP or victim's log in our access log. Yeah, this is the victim user, and he actually click on that link, but the lab is not solved. So back to the exploit server, and let's just disable the burp proxy. So why, where is the problem? As you can see here, this is your server, means this is hackers controlled exploit server. You can use the form below to save an exploit and send it to the victim. Please note that the victim uses Google Chrome. So this is another thing to be considered. Whenever you build your exploit, whatever exploit, you need to take care of the platform on which the victim exists. I think this @ must be HTML encoded, and for this we need ampersand hash 64 semicolon. This is the HTML encoded value of @. We can test it in the decoder, paste that and smart decode. So @. Okay, and if you change it to 46, this is the value of dot. So fine, I'm going to back here, ampersand hash 46 semicolon. One more thing I want to put here, which is this one, and space. Okay, and let's try to encode it as URL encode. So because some browsers by default uses same site, this is same site like this, and same site is equal to, let's say, none. Okay, and let's just store it one more time and deliver exploit to the victim. Okay, let's try something else. What I'm going to open the private window and let's just log in with the Carlos, because once we log out, maybe the CSRF token and the key gets changed for Carlos. So let's get these two values from the Carlos and let's try to put it in the exploit. Okay, my account, Carlos, and Montoya is the password. Let's enable the burp proxy. And let's try to change the email address, carlos@test.west. This is the post request. CSRF token is this. Copy and paste it here. Fine. And this is the CSRF key. So copy that and paste it here. Fine. Now let's go and we are going to put these two values here. So this is the CSRF key value. Come on, Control V. Okay, and this is the CSRF value. So copy this and paste it here. Fine. Rest of the things are okay. Store it and deliver to the victim. And as you can see, the email gets changed. So congratulations, you solved the lab. If we come back to the access log to just check out, so this is the last one, and this is the request where the user victim visited and his email gets changed. Okay, so that's it for this lab, and I'm gonna see you in the next video. Bye.